So let's kick off by discussing a little bit about what we'll cover today. We'll talk about immersive learning and how these tools can really help enhance your course and help your students learn. We have Kevin Sullivan here in the room. He's the executive publisher at Jones & Bartlett Learning, and he'll conduct a live product demonstration so that you can really see the LearnScapes product in action for yourself. We also have Mary Colleen Liberty on the line. She's our technology product manager here at Jones & Bartlett Learning for Nursing, and she'll discuss the technology side of things, how to access Navigate scenario, and she'll also share with you the customer perspective from the really close work she's done with one of our nursing research faculty members and customers, Anita Finkelman, who's a visiting faculty member at the Bouvet College of Health Sciences and School of Nursing at Northeastern University located here in Boston. Anita had something come up and is unable to participate on the call today, but we still wanted to share with all of you the experience that she had with integrating this product into the course. You know, we're really excited to share this product with you, and we're confident that this will be a great tool to help you transform and enhance your nursing research course. I'm sure all of you have heard the term immersive and experiential learning. These are buzzwords that seem to be really popular right now. However, this concept of immersive learning is not new, and it's been around since the early 90s. It was first used in the military and then in the medical field, and since then has gained some traction in higher education in the early 2000s. Basically, the idea behind immersive learning is to help the learner understand complex concepts. It's also a fantastic way to use these tools to really bring learning to life, especially around topic areas that might be considered more mundane by your students. Through a combination of pedagogy, simulations, and engaging activity, the learner will grasp and master these concepts more easily. So let's talk a little bit about LearnScapes and how they fit in as a really exciting immersive and experiential learning tool for your course. LearnScapes are an online, interactive, scenario-based learning tool that feature interactive scenes that map to textbook content and that teach students key concepts. Some of the cool features you'll see, and Kevin's going to demonstrate this in just a few minutes, are the photorealistic virtual locations. Students will see different scenes from a hospital and really simulate what it's like to be day-to-day in the life of someone who works in a hospital. There are full video interactions, guided mentoring. We have content that remediates back to the textbooks, and students are able to test their knowledge through natural assessment. We're proud to have partnered with Toolwire on this product and to make it available to you, our nursing faculty. We're confident that these LearnScapes can really bring nursing research to life in your course, and this product is really one of a kind in terms of the fact that it's a true simulation for a non-clinical course. And it's a great way to get students acclimated, like we've said, about life in the hospital, what it's like to work with different staff members, possibly sit on a board or a committee that might be charged with how to make process improvements to preventing medication errors. This, in some way, might be the closest that a student might come to really learning and understanding, you know, what happens day to day without physically being on site in a hospital. This is a fantastic tool for you to use for a traditional BSN student or the RN to BSN student. And I know right now you're probably thinking, wow, this technology looks great, but I don't know if I have the time or the resource to get up and running on it, and also to train my students how to use that. And we hear that a lot, and I think one of the things you'll see when Kevin demonstrates the product is it truly is intuitive, it's an easy product to use, and there's a lot of benefit to it as well. So let's talk about how you can integrate this into your course and, you know, why instructors love this. Instructors really love this product because it's the opportunity to bring technology into the classroom and to truly tie it to textbook content. It's a chance for instructors to offer immersive and interactive learning tool that can really help break down the concept and the theory behind nursing research. It's a great way to engage your students, really get them into the content. And there's also flexibility in that we have content that aligns to the 4 key nursing research texts within our lists. So you have the opportunity to use Nursing Research by Boswell, Evidence-Based Practice for Nursing by Schmidt, or 2 of the other books that you see here on the slide as well. So there's definitely that flexibility. And it's also a time saver. You know, one of the great things about this tool is it allows students to really progress on their own and learn the content, allowing you, the instructor, to spend a little bit more time possibly mentoring students and finding out where they're having challenges. So it's a great time saver as well. Students really love this product because it gives them real-world application. It allows them to become immersed in a hospital environment and to truly participate and get a sense of what their day-to-day life is going to be like as a nurse. It gives them the opportunity to test their knowledge through natural assessments. It's very easy to use, and it allows the student to progress at their own pace and really guides them through each scenario and works with them at their own pace. So at this point, you know, you've heard a lot of great things about the product, and I want to turn it over to Kevin Sullivan. He's the executive publisher here, and give us just a second to pass this over, and we're going to get into the product, and we're going to let you see just how fantastic it is.
And I can go ahead and jump in. Good afternoon, everybody. And here you see, folks, our LearnScape for Nursing Research, which happens today to live within our own LMS, or our own learning management system, which is Moodle-based. If I scroll down here, you'll see about 16 different lessons of content in nursing research. Okay, so there is plenty of content, everything from how to coordinate the discussion of nursing theory with evidence-based practice, and how to combine that with actual practice. Again, thinking of that sort of traditional BSN student or that RN to BSN student, how exactly, you know, what are they going to be experiencing when they step out into the workplace, all right, and what can they bring, what do they need to know from your classroom in nursing research, that theoretical discussion that they might need, that they might come across in their day-to-day. So I'm going to go ahead and let this run a little bit. And what you see here is in front of us is we're setting the scene. Each of your students will join this group. They've actually been either nominated to or they've volunteered to join an interdisciplinary committee of folks on their hospital to help get to the bottom of a medication errors problem at the hospital. So this group has been formed at the hospital, consisting of all these different folks around the table, including, from my point of view, me, the student. Here I am, perhaps a new nurse who's joined the group, which, like I said, has been convened to get to the bottom of our increase in medication errors. What I'm going to do here is, if I hit the mute button, that's going to show the content or the closed captioning of this woman here. Her name is Leanne. She's a health administrator from the quality improvement team who actually is heading up the committee. Okay, she's introducing folks on the committee. We may have, we may recognize each other, but right now we're going to be asked to take a moment to introduce ourselves. Okay, around the table we have folks like Dr. Malik. She's to my right. Okay, she's an MD here at the hospital, and of course very interested in the medication, or very concerned about the medication errors uptick at the hospital. Okay, as we see, we can look around. Who else do we have here? To her right, we have Jorge. Let's hear who he is. He, of course, represents the pharmacy department and another very active member of the committee. Okay, and then lastly we have Tara. She's another nurse from our unit and has also been either named to or volunteered to join this committee. All right, so after quick introductions, Leanne is keeping us moving through our committee meeting. And then, not sure if we're quite prepared for this, or your student might be surprised to see that there's been homework assigned for this meeting. All right, because we all had to read this report brief that Leanne had sent around. But luckily, she's included that here at our table in case we haven't had a chance to read it. We make it nice and clear by highlighting the document that now is your time to read it. All right, so what is this report brief that Leanne's referring to? It happens to be, of course, the IOM's brief on preventing medication errors. Okay, so that pops up as a PDF for your students to read. Okay, so it's another document, another resource, more evidence and more documentation in the literature that you can have students read on their own and bring into class with them, for example. All right, so after I've clicked that, open that, spend some time to read that, that could be assigned as homework, something like that, I'm back to our boardroom and I'm continuing through the scenes. All right, I'm going to pause there because I really want to show the breadth of different types of scenes that you'll find and that your students will find in the product. And I like to jump around, and again, you can see our lesson headings here: qualitative designs and quantitative designs, right? We explain, get into the differences there. How about collecting evidence? All right, so let me jump into the collecting evidence lesson because I think this has another unique interactive scene and scenario that will help, again, bring this situation to life for your students, okay? It will take a quick second here to detect which bandwidth I'm calling in from, all right? And I'll continue here. You'll see the little message that pops up. This is instructions to you, the student. It says, you're just about to turn in for the night when suddenly something pops up on your phone, and you're getting an instant message from your friend Janine. She's been introduced earlier in the scene. So she says to you, this picture again, one of your students about to wrap up their, either in this scene, they're wrapping up their work for the night or just put the kids to bed. And suddenly a message from Janine. She says, do you have a minute to talk? I respond by clicking on the send button. It's the only option I have. I say, hey, you're really giving me a hard time. I'm trying to get some sleep. But she has a few questions. They happen to be related to nursing research. And Janine says, now these are pretty intense questions from someone just over instant message late at night. But it's a tricky way of us incorporating multiple choice questions regarding nursing research. So Janine wants to know if a researcher will use a scaled back data collection method, what is that kind of study called? That comes to me, the student. I have my 4 choices to respond, and then I respond that way. The system is collecting this data from me, the student, okay? And now here comes Janine with more questions. All right, just when I thought that was all she was going to ask, she has more questions. This one about questionnaires and response rates. I think I'm concerned here about percentage of questionnaires returned. So as you see, well, Janine's not quite done yet, but we take this through 10 different questions. So this is sort of a mini quiz that gets your students thinking about nursing research sort of live and in that scenario-based environment. And one last one I'll show quickly is another one of my favorites here where, again, I mentioned a discussion or our lesson on linking theory, research, and practice. I'm going to take a minute. We will run into, we're going to run into Jorge, the pharmacist, and I think he has some additional evidence or some additional journal articles that he wants us to take a look at as part of the committee. Okay, so I'll remember to mute this so we can see, or so that we can see the closed captioning. Where's my man Jorge? Here he is. So he asked if we have a quick minute. This is the system's way of pausing us as a student and making sure that we are interacting with the program. Okay, these little click boxes pop up periodically, and we'll sit there, pause, so that I don't have time to run away and do my laundry or go get stuck watching a TV show or something like that. All right. So I'm going to interact here with Jorge and learn more about what's going on. He also congratulates me here on being named chairperson of the committee. So since we last left the committee, your student has been named chairperson. So congratulations again from Jorge. He mentions that he has 2 new articles that he'd like to share with the group. And I want to know exactly why Jorge chose those articles. Well, he's excited about these because they bring in a theoretical framework. Might be exactly something that you're discussing with your students in class that morning, all right, upon assigning this lesson to your students. He says he's going to go ahead and email those articles to me a little bit later this afternoon. So let's see what happens. There we are now quickly in your student's apartment, all right? Up pops their email, and this is the message directly from Jorge. He says, hey, here are the 2 articles we discussed earlier today. And notice within the email 2 PDF documents, Article 1 and Article 2. And these are articles that will discuss, again, theoretical framework, and one more specifically on, I believe, on medication errors. There's a 3rd document here called the journal grid, but that one is not clickable. I'll get to that in just a second. First article here, again a PDF, like was the IOM's theoretical framework, or no, the IOM's report brief. All right, and here's an article from Jonah regarding patient outcomes, okay? This came out a little bit earlier in Jonah. This is the time for your student to go ahead and read this document, read the article, take their notes, okay? I also want to go ahead and read the second article. This one is more specific, I believe, to medication errors. And let's see where this one is from. This one is from AJN, okay? So a few pages of content for your students to get through. Then, once I've read those 2 articles, or at least click them open, I have the opportunity to open up our journal article grid. This is a Word doc where I have 4 boxes available to complete. Okay, they're clickable. And then this document will be savable. But what I need to do is complete this journal grid, which follows me through the product for each of the 2 articles I just read. So first I'm going to include the citation, author, journal, etc. And what was the purpose of the article? All right, I can scroll up to see the other articles we discussed to make sure that I'm following that pattern. And I'll do the same with this one. Create the citation and jot in the purpose of the article. So that's how a student can go ahead and save that document, and that's something that they can save on their own machine, bring into class the next day, or even email to you, the instructor. So again, the student is seeing exactly what the big deal is about evidence-based practice, nursing research, and how it might affect them in their day-to-day lives when they start working in that hospital. They might be more apt to volunteer for that interdisciplinary research committee. They might be apt to nominate themselves or friends of theirs for that committee, and at least they're exposed to what's behind the concepts and the theory that they're learning in their nursing research class. So I think it's a great way, again, just to bring in simulation, bring in those real-world scenarios to a course that isn't known for its simulation potential, if you see where I'm coming from. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Jen, I believe.
And just while we're transitioning, next up we are going to hear from Mary Colleen Liberty. She's the technology product manager here at Jones & Bartlett Learning, and she's going to give the customer perspective from Anita Finkelman. Anita and Mary Colleen worked quite closely, and she's also going to talk a little bit about the technology that's required and how you can access navigate scenario. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary Colleen.
Thank you so much, Jen. As Jen mentioned, I'm Mary Colleen Liberti. I'm the Technology Product Manager working on nursing at Jones and Bartlett Learning. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience working with Anita Finkelman. As Jen mentioned before, she's a visiting faculty member at the School of Nursing at the Bouvet College of Health Sciences at Northeastern University. And Anita had over 44 students spread between two different sections of a healthcare research course. Both of these sections were being taught fully online. And it was great to be able to have somebody involved in a pilot so soon as the product had literally just published. Anita had an extremely positive experience, and she felt that the interactivity and the scenarios really offered her students a very rich and successful experience. She felt that the combination of the assessment questions, which are offered in context, as Kevin pointed out, and the real-world settings, and Jen, you might just want to move to the next slide. Also, that being tied with the review of the journal articles and the literature that's woven throughout the product, with the focus on medication safety, which, for her, she felt that this was so critically important. It's such a relevant area for nursing students at this time. So that was really phenomenal for her. And also this pairing with the written activities. And again, Kevin pointed out filling out a journal grid. This combination of activities, just really allowed her to be able to bring the concepts of nursing research to life in the class, especially it being a fully online course. It really allowed there to be a level of engagement that is sometimes hard to bring when you're teaching online. She felt that, all of these things really reinforced the content. And the thing that she really pointed out that was interesting was that the scenarios really offer the student an experience in working with their peers and collaborating with different people in a hospital atmosphere, and that in itself, was invaluable to her students, and she really enjoyed that, seeing her students interact in that way and getting such positive feedback, and of course that segues into the great student feedback that we received. So again, we were able to get just a phenomenal amount of information from these students within this pilot. And over and over, what they were saying is that they felt really comfortable with the content. They loved the professional environments. They felt they were very relevant and current, and they loved those real-life locations, the coffee shop and the cafeteria. They thought that the scenarios really clarified the content for them and that they were learning in context. And again, with this type of material, there aren't really a lot of opportunities for that, to simulate that. So they really, really enjoyed that. So what I'm going to do is segue to some technical information tied to this Navigate scenario product, and talk a little bit about the environment. As Kevin showed, this product, it lives in our Navigate learning management system, and that's really the Jones and Bartlett learning management system. And if you are using a courseware product tied to Jones and Bartlett, in many cases you're using it through our Navigate system. And that is really a version of Moodle, as we've mentioned. And Navigate is really on par with any of the major learning management systems out there. So it has a lot of the very intuitive, easy-to-use interfaces that you've seen before. If you've used a learning management system, then you're going to be familiar with the grade book. Your students are going to be familiar with, all the functions that are very typical, reports and forum and chat. They are able to acknowledge their progress throughout the use of the product. Instructors have the ability to edit using the tools that are part of the learning management system. So that allows you to kind of hide or show particular modules and really control the experience for your students. We have 24/7 technical support, and if needed, you can also export the gradebook information from Navigate to your own learning management system. And if that is not enough, if you need to actually have the product, this LearnScape product, integrate directly with your learning management system, we can do that as well. So that's a really positive thing. The other thing that I kind of wanted to mention it's really important is kind of getting started and working with digital products. I think the other thing that really differentiates Jones and Bartlett is our commitment to really making digital integration as easy and simple as possible, both for you and for your students. And we know that, we have to make the lives of your students easy, because if we don't, it can really impact your life becoming somewhat of a nightmare, right? We all know that. So we want to make sure that you have a great experience. We like to offer a lot of hand-holding support in the very beginning and to get you started and up and running, both you and your students. We also have a lot of support materials for both the instructor and student, integration tools for the instructor and guide documentation. We also have a lot of student tools, cheat sheets that show the different buttons and how to use them, best practices and ways to use the product most effectively to help them, get the optimal experience. And, of course, we also have that 24/7 support. So the only other thing I really kind of wanted to talk about is, as Jen mentioned, she talked a lot about immersive learning, and, you're hearing all of those terms out there tied to experiential and exploratory learning and immersive and scenario-based. And, if you're looking at any, materials from any companies out there that are offering educational learning tools, both publishing and non-traditional, you'll see all these terms out there. And I think what you have to look at is really how a product, meets your needs and your students' needs. And I believe that this product really differentiates itself in a pretty significant way. I think that the student has a very intimate experience, a very focused experience tied to nursing research, which is based on, real-world situations. And it's very easy to use, very relevant. It takes theory into practice, which is phenomenal, and we know how powerful that can be. But it's that intimacy that really allows students to relate to the concepts in nursing research in a very personal way. So the student, as they go through this product, they impact the outcomes in their journey through it by the decisions they make and how they perform using these tools, how they collaborate, and how they interact with those various assessments. And it's that personal journey that ultimately is going to impact their own outcome and success in their profession. So it's something that's very different than a lot of what is out there, especially tied to the subject of nursing research. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin for our remaining information and slides.
Great. Thanks a lot, Mary Colleen. And again, I think you're seeing our excitement, or you're hearing our excitement about this product come through, because we believe it is unique, and the fact that we've taken a real laser focus on the nursing research course, an area that we've been very successful in over the years, and taken some steps to move that course into this scenario-based or immersive learning arena. So there are a handful of ways here that you can get access to the program sort of on your own. We do have what we call our sandbox for some of our digital products. and you can follow the link here and use this username and password info. I believe this will be sent out to you following this presentation, so stand by for that. We also have a few demos and videos on the link provided here. Again, this content will be emailed. These links will be emailed out to you. And then lastly, we also have Jones & Bartlett sales representatives eager to hear from each of you. You might know them by name already after having them help you with some of our text and other digital resources. Many of them are actually listening on the call today, so hello to all those folks as well. We look forward to connecting you with them sort of as needed. And again, this information, along with your sales rep locator, will be coming out to you kind of following the presentation for you to kind of take the next step and look into that for your course and at your institution. So with that, I'm going to bring the operator, our webinar operator, back online. I believe that's Leah. We can go ahead and open it up for questions. You can feel free to communicate with her on those questions, and we'll be taking them from across the country. Along with that, I can kind of sketch out some of the more frequently asked questions that I've heard and our sales reps have heard, from our customers and schools that we work directly with.
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, press star, then the number 1. We'll pause for just a moment for the Q&A roster.
All right, we'll go ahead and pause, and Leah can interrupt me with questions. Really, one of the first questions that people ask is sort of what does it look like to get our LearnScape, the Nursing Research LearnScape, in place at my school? We have 2 opportunities to do that. One would be to use the product as a standalone, where we provide an access code to each student that they can go ahead and log in and get access to the program. And that would work if your nursing research course is using really any textbook out there on the market. I would say that our favorite way to get the program in use is to package it together with one of our existing nursing research products. I mentioned how successful Jones & Bartlett has been in that course with finding the right authors and presenting the right content for those courses. They're in use all over the country. So what we offer there is the ability to package the LearnScape on top of your textbook, okay? So I would envision that being really where the student can uses both the textbook and the LearnScape, and we could provide some guidance there, both with folks who have with input from faculty who have piloted the product, and also from our own in-house resources. So I would envision the text being used as reading at home and with discussion in class, but then each of the LearnScapes sort of assigned as homework. You've read Chapter 1, now go ahead and tonight click through Lessons 1 and 2 of the online LearnScape. And we can help you with that, sort of mapping to your syllabus. Which weeks are you discussing qualitative and quantitative research? Which weeks are you incorporating theoretical frameworks, that sort of thing. So happy to work with you that way as well. Another frequently asked question, I wish I had the Webex drum roll function to start me off here, but that is, how much does the product cost? All right, so the answer to that is, it depends. It sort of depends on which way you want to offer the product. If you want to offer it as a standalone, we do have sort of a set price for that. But if you'd like to package it with one of our textbooks, then it would be an additional cost on top of that for the text. And we have some different bundling and discounting options that we can provide to you. But the next step there would be to contact your Jones & Bartlett sales representative, who can walk you through that pricing grid, sort of depending on which textbook you're using, whether you want to package the LearnScape with your text, or whether you want to kind of use it as a standalone. So those are some of the possibilities there. I think we have a couple other questions popping on in. Not sure if Leah, the operator, has heard any. She can go ahead and interrupt. Otherwise, I'll look over here at Jen.
There are no audio questions at this time.
Thanks, Leah. And to you, Jen, what was the question that you saw pop up?
Yep, we had the cost question come up, which you addressed, thank you. And then we also had another instructor asking, and maybe you can just go over this point again, does the student use the LearnScape instead of the textbook?
Right. I would say that I think it would be hard to have the LearnScape live without a textbook at all. But that said, I would be happy to explore and work with any faculty who are interested in doing that. I know there's some movement out there to move completely away from text, and that'd be something we'd be interested in exploring along with you. Okay.
Another question is, how much time does it take a student to progress through the module?
Right. Great question. I'm going to turn that one. I think Mary Colleen might have some input on that. She's our technology product manager. Mary Colleen, can you give us some just general guidelines around sort of time per lesson, that sort of thing?
Sure, absolutely. It takes anywhere from 10 to probably about 15 minutes maximum for a student to go through each scenario. And the reason why that includes reading of the journal article. So if your students are extremely fast readers, then they may make it through in 8 minutes. But on average, it's about 10 to 15 minutes per scenario. So it's a good, from a homework standpoint, if you're assigning homework, those sorts of things, certainly 1 or 2 scenarios could be easily accomplished, in a night's assignment.
Great, thanks. And Jen, go ahead.
Another question is, can this product be loaded into Blackboard?
Well, great. That's again to Mary Colleen.
Yeah. Yes, it actually can be. We would integrate directly with your learning management system to be able to accomplish that. Not a problem at all. Blackboard is a pretty easy to integrate LMS, so not a problem for us to do that.
Yeah, and I follow that up by saying we're confident that we can work with you to get access through any of the learning management systems that you might be using, whether that's Blackboard, your school's own proprietary LMS, or whatever the case might be. But I do think that requires one more conversation, again, either directly with Mary Colleen, who's our technology product manager, or with your sales rep, so we can get some of the into the nitty-gritty of exactly what program you're running. I know Blackboard has a couple different versions out there. There are some other LMSs that go through various versions, so we really want to make sure that we understand what version you need, any idiosyncrasies that your school might have. So it's worth one more conversation just to get to the bottom of that, before we implement. But it's safe to say that we can interact with just about any LMS out there.
Have one more question, Kevin. We have a caller that's asking what support exists to map to an instructor's syllabus or to the content they're offering in their course.
Yeah, perfect. Great question. That's kind of what I alluded to earlier. We've got Jen mentioned 4 core undergraduate textbooks. They do cover some of the same information, but we, of course, realize that each nursing research course is a little bit different. So we try in our LearnScape to cover as much of the course or nursing research content we can. And so we'd love to work with you to sort of, you can email your syllabus into your sales rep. We can take a quick look at that, provide suggestions on when each of the lessons in our LearnScape should be presented or should be assigned as homework, sort of which week. If you're talking about qualitative research in week 6 of your course, then we would highlight for you that means lesson number 8 from our LearnScape should be assigned, and on down through your weeks. If you've got a 10, 12, 15-week course, if you could highlight for us kind of which topics are covered in those weeks, we'll highlight back for you which lessons should be incorporated during those weeks of your course.
Great. Well, that I think wraps wraps up the questions from the chat. Leah, are there any questions that came in from your line?
Yes, we do have a question from the line of Margaret Bull.
Great.
Yes, I have a question about the bandwidth that's needed for Sandbox. I've tried the demo in Sandbox on my office computer, the classroom computer, and a laptop, and it doesn't play. And so I'm wondering what sorts of requirements or IT supports I should look into.
Sure. Mary Colleen, can you jump on in there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Bull. This is Mary Colleen again. We've talked before, and absolutely. Let me. I have your information, your contact information, so I'll give you a call personally, and let me help you through that. We actually, have pretty general, very kind of, I should say, the most common requirement from a technical standpoint for most users tied to that. So there must be some small thing going on there, but we'll make sure that we help you out with that right away, and I'll contact you today, and so that we can help you get that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Great.
Leah, how about any other callers?
Your next question comes from the line of Louise Arillo.
Hello, Louise.
Hi. I was wondering how you would, and you answered my question earlier, that it could be embedded into Blackboard with assistance and working together.
Yeah, excellent. Would love to work with you one-on-one on that, just to make sure we know which version of Blackboard you have, and then go ahead and get that access created. That was a couple of the folks that have piloted the program were using Blackboard, and Mary Colleen was able to assist with that, no problem.
Another question that I had was, it looks like you've kind of geared this toward undergrad and accelerated RN to BSN graduate, nursing graduate courses. Do you have anything similar for graduates?
Great question.
This will help somewhat, but, it's we need a little more advanced.
No, you're exactly right, and this is our first foray into for nursing LearnScapes. So we did start with the sort of traditional BSN, and of course with the RN to BSN student in mind. Yeah, I do see how it could hit a ceiling in some ways for a more advanced student. So right now we don't have a sort of a separate product. One thing we could do is provide you access and see if there aren't some specific lessons within the existing program that could work for an advanced practice student. If you feel comfortable with it, we're not going to stop you from presenting that in your sort of MSN or other class.
Yeah.
But it's going to be your call on that. But happy to allow you access, and then if you do have BSN colleagues that you'd like to share it with, we're happy to help you with that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Great.
Again, to ask a question, press star 1. Your next question comes from the line of Susan Chrisman.
Great. Hello, Susan.
Hello. The lady before really asked my question, because I was thinking of using this as sort of a primer in my master's course, so then I could get into deeper questions in our discussions for our online program, is what I was thinking. And I just wondered what Dr. Franklin's thought was on the use of it in the master's program. And I think she already answered that pretty well.
Yeah, great. And it might be, that's an interesting point to say, why not provide it for your graduate students, in week number 1 for them to go through the whole thing. They probably have experiences that they could compare these scenarios to. Oh, when I was invited to join a committee, our committee was very unorganized, and I think organization is the key to this sort of research committee, that sort of thing, to get those discussions going in a master's level course. So again, we are open to that by all means, of providing access to a master's course. If nothing else, then just to wet their whistle and get discussion started in week 1. Okay, some other questions.
Can I ask another question?
I think so. We are coming up to 60 minutes, folks, so we might have to wrap it up. But go ahead, last one.
Well, the last
From you.
one was I did try to get onto this. I got into the demo and used that username and password, but I couldn't really do anything in it. I couldn't see any of the scenarios. Will that be different after this?
Yep. Mary Colleen,
Okay.
if you want to handle that, but I'm guessing we've made that more dynamic now. I think we may have only had some screenshots up there earlier, but I'm guessing it's as dynamic as can be now. Mary Colleen?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, it is. So we should be a much more dynamic and integrated experience for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, at the sandbox. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. We are going to wrap it up. We're heading up to 60 minutes. I think there are some additional questions floating out there. So when this information comes to you about contacting your sales rep, please, by all means, send a quick note to them with those questions, and we are more than happy to get back to you with that information. And I really look forward to working with you and exploring, how we can get this product into your courses, because I think, as you've heard, our level of excitement, and we really want to do what we can to get your nursing research students engaged and get them ready for what lies ahead of them in the future. So with that, we'll wrap up. Thanks, everybody, for joining, and please be in touch with Jones and Bartlett.